This is TWiT.
The other story that will be, of course, on the analysts' minds is Apple's announcement that it is spending $1 billion. Money it has, probably in the seat cushions.
That $1 billion that it could spend on domestic labor and benefits.
Oh, it's going to buy Intel's modem parts.
That's
and
2,000 labor.
IP and 2,000, bring in 2,000 Intel employees. That's a good thing. Those are all working in the U.S., aren't they?
Germans need jobs.
Yeah, Germany, the U.S.
Okay. Germany's close.
Well, it was Infineon. So Intel, when Apple first started making iPhones, they used Infineon modems, and that was a German company.
Oh,
and then
interesting.
Intel bought them.
Intel bought them
So
to do
Intel
it.
took over the Infineon business. So when Apple ran from Qualcomm, they went back to using Infineon.
It has been
modem.
like a domino effect from day one. So Qualcomm and Apple get in a fight. Apple says, we're not going to pay you anymore. Qualcomm says, we're suing you. Apple says, we don't want your modems.
We'll sue you right back.
We'll sue you right back. Jeff Williams, if a COO at Apple, makes a call to the CEO of probably Brian Krzanich at the time of Intel and says, you better make some 5G modems. We need them now.
We heard you're
Intel
making them
says,
for your laptop.
We don't want to. We don't want to. Okay. They buy Infineon. They staff up. It's a struggle. It's not going well. At some point, somebody from Intel called Jeff and said, you know those modems, we're not going to have them by 2021.
We can get to 4.25G.
Yeah,
we're
not going to have them. Apple goes to the court and says, Your Honor, we buried the hatchet. We love Qualcomm, and makes a deal for 5 years of Qualcomm modems because Intel can't deliver. Intel, like an hour later, says, oh, we're out of the 5G modem business. And then Apple buys all of Intel's IP and generics.
And licenses Qualcomm's IP, so now they can fix the thing that was wrong with Intel.
So that's interesting. You think some of that Qualcomm stuff will make its way into Apple-made modems? Yeah. So Apple has a deal to buy Intel Qualcomm modems for 5 years, but even after the fact, they'll still be given a little something.
They have a license, so it's similar to what they did with ARM, where they originally started getting reference designs, but then they started using the IP to license to make their own designs. Yeah. Here, they're buying Qualcomm modems for next year's iPhones, but they also have licensed the rights to Qualcomm's IP, and it's broad range, and they could make Qualcomm-based photography if they wanted to. They have basically rights to all of Qualcomm's IP, but a lot of those are the 5G patents that Qualcomm is donating to Fran, but once you have that master license, it is much easier to get those and integrate those with everything you're doing. So we'll likely see that transition over 3-4 years into Apple modems that use the core of the Infineon technology supplemented by the Qualcomm IP license, but with Apple specific designs. And that lets them go from a thin modem, which they have now, which is sort of slapped on top of the SoC, into making a combined single chip that has all that functionality. Or make special stuff, because the big thing is like Qualcomm literally can't afford to make watch chips. They just bundle old phone chips. But Apple will pay whatever they need to make phone modems, to make AirPod modems. So it'll let them make specific designs no other company would spend money on.
And according to 9 to 5 Mac, Intel had to take a fire sale price for their modems. That this wasn't $1 billion, as much as that sounds like, wasn't what Intel was hoping for this. I think, though, there were other people in the bids, right?
They closed bids 2 weeks before this was even a rumor. So that meant that there really wasn't a big bidding war. Otherwise, they would have basically kept Apple's feet to the fire.
They're worth more to Apple than they are to anybody else, clearly.
Yeah, because Intel realized that their only real customer was going to be Apple. Once Apple aced them out, then they realized that our business is in so many different successful areas. We don't need or have the desire to keep bleeding into a brand new industry that's going to require a great deal of compliance. It's going to require a great deal of new marketing, a great deal of new relationships. Why not just sell it? I don't think they took a loss, but they were more interested in making sure that they have this thing that is not terribly valuable on the open market, but is very valuable to Apple, and making the best deal they could. I don't think they're crying over the deal they made.
No, I doubt they are. Does the fact that T-Mobile Sprint merger looks like it's going to go through, and that is all about 5G, Dish is going to become a new fourth cell phone network and start with 5G. They're not even going to bother with building an LTE network. that also must have put some pressure on Apple to get going with its 5G modem, right? I think Apple would have otherwise sat back and said, we can wait a couple of years because there isn't really a lot of pressure to make a 5G phone yet.
I think their plan was originally the 2020 phone. I don't think that's changed. I think that's when they were hoping they would get.
And they always see, that's kind of contrary to the way Apple works, right? Usually Apple's the last to adopt a new technology.
They will be the last by then. I mean, I think every Android manufacturer is going to have rolled it out by spring of next year.
Which is silly because honestly,
that may be Google. We don't know.
There's all sorts of issues with 5G. We were talking on Sunday about battery life, which at this point is terrible with 5G.
Joanna Stern's phone melted.
Literally. There's also the issue of 5G not being available, and if it is available in your neck of the woods, maybe very, very expensive. I don't know if consumers are going to be in 2020 saying, "Oh, I got to have a 5G phone."
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's mostly, I think, the biggest impact is going to be for services and also for broadband companies who want to build up coverage that they would normally have to get pole rights or cable rights for, because it's not just all the problems that Rene's talking about. It's not like 3G or LTE where you can put up one antenna or repurpose an antenna you've already have 3G stuff on. You really are going to have to just throw a 5G bomb in the air that does nothing but penetration scatters 5G stations on every single street corner and every single block. They just don't penetrate. They just don't propagate very well. So you're going to need to cover a wide area. You're going to need so many pieces of hardware to make that happen, and you're still delivering features that aren't necessarily going to convince consumers to upgrade their mobile plan. Now, if it's certainly a feature that will get someone interested in saying, well, I will definitely buy this 5G enabled security camera because I will not have to run a special internet cable or special internet service out to this remote location. It can just access the network on its own. Or if there's a low latency sort of product that they need to get going on, like a drone project or something that's a little bit more active than what you can get with normal 4G and LTE right now, that's going to work. But the idea of it being like the transition between 3G and 4G, it's just not going to be it. You're not going to be able to get faster. You're not going to necessarily get better TV out of it. You're not going to get better Netflix out of it. And there has yet to be the case of people wanting to stream at a very, very, very high rate to a phone yet. Games might change that, but 5G availability is going to be a problem.
Intel will still be able to make modems for PCs, for other devices, just not for phones.
The other thing to remember, though, is that 5G is it's a huge mess. It is, like Andy was saying, is a way bigger mess than LTE because it's also not really a thing. It's like three different things. Yeah. There's sub 6 gigahertz, which is what's going to be in rural communities and suburbs, which is going to use a lot of existing infrastructure and be just a little bit faster at first, but steadily gain speed. And then Europe has the mid-range sort of version of 5G. Yeah. And then in cities, it has the millimeter wave, which is that bomb, that cluster bomb that Andy was talking about. That's going to take, at least a mini tower on every block, if not on every balcony in a major city, just to provide distribution. And we'll probably see sub 6 gigahertz phones, especially low cost phones, especially in markets like China, that won't require as much. People have slightly better service, much faster. But for the North American market, you're probably going to have to support both. And that was the Ming-Chi Kuo rumor this week, is that Apple's going to go all in with all three phones in 2020
on 5G. Wow. Yeah. So you'll buy one even if you don't need it or can't use it.
Well, the modems will be it's still a generation or two later, so the modems will be way more energy efficient than they are now. They won't require as much RF, and they won't generate the amount of heat that we saw again with Joanna Stern, where she had to basically put it on an ice pack or it was going to melt down to the thermal center of the Earth.
Jeez Louise.